Hello there ladies and gentlemen, I'm TX141, but you may call me Paul, welcoming you to something entirely different for the channel today, and that is the footage that I managed to capture whilst I was attending the Biggin Festival of Flight 2015, which occurred yesterday on the 13th of June. Now it was quite an emotional day, not just because of the flyouts, or the planes flying over I should really say, but also the journey there. To give you an idea, I've been waiting to attend this event for over 4 months because I got the tickets for my birthday. And I decided to take my dad along with me because it was a good father-son experience, and also there were some very special aircraft flying over that day which we really wanted to see. And it's a lifelong dream to have seen them, but I'm not going to spoil it for you. As we were driving along to get there, we got held up in a massive traffic jam, and of course you'd expect that because air show is very popular, 18,000 tickets in total were sold, but it started raining in the midst of the traffic jam. And for those of you who have been to a number of air shows before, you'll know that when it starts raining at an air show, usually a lot of the planes will stay grounded, they will not take off, and the ones that are going to fly to your air show from another airfield will not show up. Well, fortunately for us, as we parked up and we got out of the car, the rain stopped and the event went on. Some planes couldn't make it, and to give you an idea, B-17 Sally B couldn't make it, a Bristol Blenheim Mark IV couldn't make it, and there were a couple other planes as well. But the ones that were there and the ones that made it really made the day special, and I hope you enjoy.
No, you don't need to go like that. I'll take the jacket into the wood.
Mama, are they the red arrows? No.
The one would hope this big Spitfire event, he'll be out. Well, they're the people that are organising it.
Sounds completely different. Flew over on Wednesday. A great bunch of guys. Delighted to be here for the Festival of Flight here at London Biggin Airport.
It is windy, I'll tell you that.
On your tail, Jimmy.
Here he goes.
Always a little bit difficult, these aircraft on the ground, as you can see. When taxiing these, what we call tail draggers, with the tail wheel, there's virtually no forward visibility whatsoever. It's kind of like trying to drive your car with the bonnet open. Standard practice is to weave slightly left to right, and just as you turn, you do get just enough glimpse forward to make sure you're not taxiing your way into any kind of trouble.
Beautiful, eh? And left wheel up first. Huh? Left wheel always goes up first. It's only got a single pressure system, you can bring one up at a time. I see. Yeah, that Damon Benz engine is very powerful.
From 1935 onwards, as sector stations, airfields, aircraft and pilots. It played such a crucial role during the Battle of Britain, But before then was the Battle of France.
Here it comes.
The RAF advanced their striking force was deployed to airfields in France against possible invasion by the German forces. That invasion began on the 10th of May 1940 with the launch of the Blitzkrieg, the Lightning War. The Hawker Hurricane entered service with the Royal Air Force in 1937. It took the Royal Air Force into a whole new world of high-performance aircraft. It was the first that could exceed 300 miles per hour in level flight, and the first to be armed with 8 machine guns. Hurricane pilots were involved on every day of the Battle of France. Indeed, on the first day, the 10th of May 1940, 2 aircraft from 73 Squadron became the first to engage German bombers in the shape of 3 Dornier 17s. Hurricane pilots fought well, despite their inexperience, the lack of commander control, and perhaps worst of all, the need to frequently abandon airfields as they were overrun by the advancing German forces. Of the 452 Hurricanes engaged during the Blitzkrieg actually came back to the UK. Overall, the Battle for France cost the Luftwaffe 1,428 aircraft. Now that was about half its operational strength. A further 500 were damaged. This was a big loss to the Luftwaffe. Germany was expecting a short war. Its aircraft industry was still working at peacetime rates. It was going to take a long while to replace the lost aircraft and the lost pilots. In a matter of seconds. These tactics were fairly effective, especially on airfields such as Manston and Hawkinge, located right along the coast. The idea was to sneak in fast, quickly, low, under the cover of radar, and attack. In order for the German forces to successfully invade the United Kingdom, the RAF had to be destroyed. It had to be destroyed quickly. This amazing air defence system. It was quite rare for RAF aircraft to be caught on the ground. It did happen at Manston, most famously, and indeed the squadrons were pulled out of Manston and brought further inland to Hornchurch and also to Biggin Hill.
you can take a picture of playing with one of these, you can do it
Another
better.
tactic was to send the Messerschmitt 109s in advance of a bomber force, what was called a fighter sweep. The idea being to flush the Royal Air Force Spitfires and Hurricanes into the air. Once they were in the air, they could be attacked.
So you can catch one on there.
As the aggressor, the German Air Force, the Luftwaffe, could pick the time, the date, the location, the height of the attack. Whilst the Messerschmitts were strafing the airfields, formations of bombers would often approach at altitude 11, 12,000 feet, heavily escorted by more Messerschmitt 109s, attempting target for the defending Hurricanes and Spitfires. The 109, without a doubt the most famous German aircraft ever built. Incredible to think that 35,000 were constructed. This 109 was actually constructed as the G model, the Gustav, one of the later models of Messerschmitt, indeed the most numerous mark of Messerschmitt. During the Battle of Britain, it was the Emil, the E version, that was the main aggressor, armed with 2 cannons and 2 machine guns. We've all seen the Battle of Britain film. Well, if you were a Messerschmitt 109 pilot, you really didn't want to get involved in a dogfight. You wanted to have the height and the position on the RAF aircraft, and when everything was in your favour, you'd swoop down, shoot down a Spitfire or a Hurricane, and then zoom back up to altitude. It was known as a bounce.
Oh, it's beautiful, I tell you.
It was a very effective technique.
So glad I got to see this.
Very difficult to counter. If you had altitude and position, you held all the top parts.
This is Chris. Just down.
The formations of approaching bombers would be plotted, they would be tracked, and the commands would be sent to the defending squadrons to scramble and to meet the incoming bombers. It didn't always go to plan. Sometimes the bombers escorted by more Messerschmitt 109s.
Jesus. I said, Jesus.
I don't think that's
Well, I think we can call that a close shave. But believe me, that was not untypical. Hopefully the squadrons were scrambled in time, sometimes only just in time. Once they're aboard, the squadrons will form up, follow the intercept commands from the fighter controllers and go in search of the enemy. During the early stages of the Battle of Britain, the Air Force flew what's known as a Vic formation, a kind of triangle of 3 aircraft.
You just go for Tower and Charlie.
It's very much an outdated formation, very vulnerable. They soon learned that was not the way to go to war with the Luftwaffe and adopted much looser formations for the battle ahead. And of course it is the Spitfire that will be forever remembered as the RAF aircraft of the Battle of Britain. Somewhat unfairly, there were more Hurricanes in service with the Royal Air Force at the time, but it was the Spitfire, of course, that captured everyone's imagination. No Luftwaffe pilot was ever shot down or attacked by a Hurricane. They always came back and said, "I've been attacked by a Spitfire." Villages, towns, organisations, they clubbed together to create Spitfire funds, a way of feeling that they were contributing to the Battle of Britain. They would save money to actually buy their own Spitfire. The cost of a Spitfire in 1940, round about £5,000. A total of 71 RAF squadrons are accredited as taking part in the Battle of Britain. The total number of RAF pilots involved, 2,936. They truly were the few. RAF pilots made the ultimate sacrifice during the battle. 7 RAF pilots that died were just 18 years old. 80% of the pilots came from the United Kingdom, 10% from the Commonwealth, and 10% from other countries in Europe, mainly countries occupied by the German military. The average age of an RAF fighter pilot during the Battle of Britain, 20.
There's our fella. Two
Hurricane squadrons were based at Biggin during the Battle of Britain, number 32 and number 79. And they shared duties with 4 Spitfire squadrons, 72, 74, 92 and 610. 38 Biggin Hill fighter pilots lost their lives during the battle. If a dogfight did develop, the aim was fairly simple. You needed to get on the tail of your target. That basically involved turning tighter and making the right decision at the right time. The Spitfire was armed with 8.303 machine guns, 4 in each wing. The Messerschmitt 109, 2 machine guns, but also 2 cannons. They were much bigger rounds, did a lot more damage. The ammunition used by the Browning machine gun was really just a rifle caliber bullet. German aircraft often returned home riddled with bullets as the 303 round just wasn't heavy enough to bring it down. Whereas the cannon used by the Messerschmitt 109, one single hit could destroy a Spitfire.
What's that?
So much fun useful. If lock in focus and pan, then take the shot.
Yeah.
This is far more fun. And you save yourself a fortune as well. Press the salt for this.
I'll tell you one thing, after holding this camera for so long, my arm is aching.
So with the 9 Red Arrows Hawks safely down, we turn to the Royal Air Force Battle Brick Memorial Flight. Appropriately enough, the flight was actually formed here at Biggin Hill back in July 1957, originally called the Historic Aircraft Flight. Today, they brought with them 2 Hurricanes and 3 Spitfires. As we continue with the Royal Air Force tribute to the Battle of Britain and also 75 years of securing the skies. Based at Royal Air Force Coningsby in Lincolnshire, the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight, and the Guardians with Royal Air Force Heritage aircraft. Flying, obviously, Spitfires, Hurricanes, also the DC-3 Dakota, Lancaster, and a Chipmunk. Apart from the officer commanding, squadron leader Duncan Mason, all the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight pilots are volunteers. They have full-time jobs with the Royal Air Force, but this is what they do in their spare time and during the weekends. The aircraft are lovingly maintained by a dedicated band of engineers and technicians. To ensure that generations in the future can enjoy and can also remember. Some of you may well remember the... What will happen is that the P-40 will take off. There it is, it's starting to roll. Peter Teichmann from Hangar 11 at North Weald. Great acceleration. You see the white stars on the side. The powering is used by many pilots to frighten and to upset, if not discombobulate, their opponents, their Japanese opponents in their... Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you look to your right, I think Jolly Good 2, they're going to be holding the Falcon. It'll take off later. Here comes Peter Teichmann from Hangar 11 on your right, low and fast. The P-40. Well, I have to tell you, those of you who don't know, Peter Teichmann is flying his own aircraft here. He has what we call the Fabulous Four. He's got a Spitfire, he's got a Hurricane, he's got a Mustang, and he's got the Kitty Hawk. And I personally think it's a wonderful thing that there are people around who have got the dosh, and you really do need some, and the time to keep these wonderful aircraft in the air, because if it wasn't for people like that, they would be in museums, and I think there's nothing sadder than to see an aircraft with its great beating metal heart silent, sitting collecting dust in a museum. But there we are, ladies and gentlemen, coming in from your left, the Curtiss P-40, Warhawk, Tomahawk, Kitty Hawk. You take your choice depending on the variant. It's a big, beautiful, flowing barrel roll. Used by
by most of the Allied powers in just about every theatre during the war. Criticised by those perhaps who never flew it, but as I say, much beloved by its pilots. As I mentioned, the Allison, of course, a liquid-cooled V12 engine, 1,150 horsepower. How that puppy really goes. I mean, just look at it and compare it to when you've seen, for example, the Spitfire and the Hurricanes flying earlier on. It really does have tremendous performance. It was particularly used in North Africa, in the Middle East, in the desert, and of course famously out in Southeast Asia with the Flying Tigers, General Claire Chennault. In a dive it'll get to nearly 400 miles an hour, and with a very good cruising speed of around 265, 270 miles an hour. A good range as well, 650 miles, and as you see, it really does eat up the sky. A surface ceiling of just under 30,000 feet. It wasn't at its best at high altitude, but low down, and as a lower level air superiority fighter, it really was a very effective machine. And it's through his entrepreneurial business acumen that Peter's managed to be in the position, as I say, to preserve not just the Kitty Hawk, but his other aircraft as well, and it's a great thing too. You know, I think I'm going to go and see him afterwards and ask him if I can fly it. That is a serious piece of kit. That puppy goes. Oh, chance would be a fine thing, eh? The classic victory roll. And Peter flies his aircraft not just in the UK but all over Europe. I was over in Holland. They were very successful. Shot down a lot of enemy aircraft. This particular aircraft was owned on more than one occasion by TFC, the fighter collection, at Duxford before ultimately Peter bought it. Painted in original markings. I mentioned those white skulls on the front, which were designed to upset the foe, but it's painted in an exact reproduction of the first of the two P-40s flown by a Lieutenant Adair. Another reason for its success was it was actually a very simple metal aircraft to reproduce, and so therefore of low cost. Around 29 or 30 are airworthy worldwide, so I'm not quite sure whether he's landing back. Whether you know that, Andy, or whether he's coming into land. Yep, it sounds like he's departing back to North Weald, which would be an odd thing to do with your undercarriage down, but anyway, it's somebody had a look at the telephoto lens. So he's probably coming into land, not to worry. Maybe he's decided to have a cup of tea before he goes. Why not? But I think we're still waiting for a jet departure. So he's dangled the Dunlops and is extending downwind, so possibly this jet will appear. I don't see any other warbirds anywhere. So here he comes, ladies and gentlemen, Peter Teichmann in the Kitty Hawk. Always worth watching the landings. The little twitchy tail wheels. Classic curved approach to maintain visibility right down to the touchdown point. And now you'll see him coming over there. Little crest. Very nice short landing as he comes past, ladies and gentlemen. As ever, he can see you, so give him a big wave. A great show, wonderful aeroplane. Most impressed by that. Thanks, Peter. Peter Teichmann from Hangar 11. There's a good view of those white skulls on the front of the cowling. Because the name of Biggin Hill and the Spitfire are surely synonymous with the freedom and democracy that we have in this country. And it's in no small part because of the Spitfire and the pilots that flew them and what it did during the Battle of Britain, what they did during the Battle of Britain, that we're here today to be able to enjoy those freedoms. So here they roll in the hands of two consummate pilots. It's Paul Bonham and Steve Jones together. This then is our tribute to the sights and sounds of yesterday. A particular salute to the ever fewer veterans of those bygone days. And be sure, ladies and gentlemen, we shall remember. So I'm going to let the aircraft talk for themselves. Enjoy.
for the rest of the evening. From everyone concerned in the show, thank you very much. Safe journey. Hope to see you next year. Good afternoon.
Have to hurry though.